remember this she was up country.
I was alerted as to the circumstances.
I was told that she, other than of course that she had burns on the legs,
She herself was very, very seriously injured.
so he told them to leave the rest of the issues.
Did actually, and I'm not sure that it helped the prosecutions.
There were those suspicions and the rumors that were milling around.
That the fire could had an accelerator.
She must have been there.
Was he injured as he clambered out of bed?
It became a headline story.
We had one boy who was studying at Braeburn College.
I was in the newsroom.
In fact, in the middle of this, the boy was able to get a scholarship.
The whole place was abuzz with, because this was an early morning incident.
This, I think, was in 1999 when the incident happened.
A fire breaks out in the house of a top-ranking government official. The man of the house dies in the deadly inferno. The woman of the house is lucky. She survives. Is it just the fire that killed Permanent Secretary Alexander Sawe, or the wife had something to do with it? Here is Case Files Over My Dead Body. Alexander Sawe and Joan Jebichi Sawe were a quiet couple living in the city. Having married in August 26, 1978, Alexander and Joan will welcome into the world a boy a year later. The two wanted more children, but medical complications followed by several operations, and Joan will not get another child. By 1994, the hopes of bearing another child became a distant reality. Family doctor informed Joan she would not be able to bear another child. The two agreed to put behind them the plan to have more children and instead concentrate on raising their only son, but Alexander Sawe's family had another plan. Alexander Sawe's father, Jonah, was ailing, so was the mother. The parents wanted someone to take care of them, and a decision was reached. Sawe was to marry another woman. 3 years later, with what the family will later tell the court was the wish of the slain permanent secretary, Sawe married another woman. Rose Chelagat Maiyo joined the Sawe family in July 1998, but Joan and Rose never met. Joan was legally married. Rose was waiting in the wings to be formally married. Alexander Sawe was a permanent secretary in the office of the president. Sawe was the director of personnel management in President Moi's government.
He was a very, how would you call it? These very unassuming people who had very little, I mean, he spoke very little. He was always somebody of action. Take an issue to him, he would quickly get you the information, get you the answer, and would not keep you for long. but he's not someone who would, like I would say, entertain a long conversation, chit-chat.
Kaplich Parisito says Alexander was a stickler of the law. He was not into politics, but cut an image of a career civil servant. Alexander's name will, on the second day of September 1998, make headline news.
Almost some sort of pandemonium in the newsroom. People were up and down, helter-skelter. Later on, I think 1 hour later, I was assigned to go to the home.
Word had reached the newsrooms that a fire dressed down the permanent secretary's house in the city's civil servants estate in Nairobi West.
By the time we reached there, of course, police had come. I think even an ambulance had initially come and taken the widow to hospital, Joanne, and she was called Joanne Chebichi, and from there, the body had actually even been removed.
The fire destroyed most of the house with its roof caving in. And Asawe was not lucky. He died in the deadly inferno as he tried to make it to the bathroom door. Initial police investigations pointed to a fire that killed the husband but spared the wife. Alexander Sawe's wife, Joanne Chebichi, was in the house by the time a team of fire brigade was making their way into the house. She survived with serious burn injuries. Weeks later, police investigators will pay an ailing Joanne Sawe a visit at the Kenyatta National Hospital.
I was alerted as to the circumstances of Mrs. Joanne Sawe by the doctors who were looking after her. Because after the incident in which her husband died, she herself was very, very seriously injured in the fire. And she was receiving both treatment for the burns, but also she was receiving psychiatric attention. And I do recall it was Dr. Frank Jenga who contacted me and said, we have a lady here who is in great distress, and the police want to interview her about this incident, and she is not in a position to do so without legal help. Can you come up to the hospital? And I did. And I went and I talked to her and I took a statement from her. And I arranged for the police to come later when we could do a statement, which we did. And that's how we got involved.
A decision had been made that Joanne was the person to stand trial for the murder of the husband.
One of the best things that I did in this case, which many lawyers don't do these days, is that as soon as I was briefed on the matter, I actually went to the house. I went to the house, I drew a map of the house, I moved from room to room, and I began to conceptualize in my mind what would have happened on that fateful night. And I was able, in defending her, to open up the possibility that 1,000,001 other possibilities existed.
Joanne Chebichi Sawe, 43 years of age at the time, was formally charged before a Nairobi court for the murder of her husband, Alexander Sawe. In a closely followed murder trial, the prosecution built its case around a jealous woman who killed her husband because he had brought home another woman. The prosecution charging that Joanne will not stand the realization that the husband will entertain another woman. The prosecution lined up several witnesses, among them the government pathologist and a fire expert who painted a picture of a woman who started a fire but not before inflicting life-threatening injuries on the husband. A post-mortem report tabled in court by a government pathologist indicated that Alexander Sawe died of carbon monoxide fumes. The permanent secretary also had a stab wound on his chest. The wound was caused by a sharp object. The fire expert charged that the seat of the fire was the master bedroom where Alexander Sawe's child remains were discovered. The cause of the fire, the expert told Justice Etiang, was possibly caused by petrol. Githu Muigai, the country's immediate former Attorney General and the widow's lawyer at the time, told Case Files the prosecution had the wrong motive and the wrong suspect. The former Attorney General says it was impossible to ascertain how the permanent secretary sustained an injury to his chest, let alone what exactly caused the fire.
Let me say this man had blunt object injuries to his chest cavity. How are we to know that? How was this? Because a fire starts and every person goes their own way trying to get away from the fire. Did he fall? Was he injured as he clambered out of bed? We didn't know. So again, that was not evidence that disturbed us at all. In as much as we were able to demonstrate that my client was so seriously burnt, the burns were so extensive. We had two victims. If he had injuries in his chest, we had severe burns on Mrs. Sawe's body.
A neighbor told the court that he saw flames from Alexander Sawe's bedroom minutes after 5 a.m. on the fateful morning. This evidence was put to task after it emerged that administration police officers manning the permanent secretary's home had already left by the time the neighbors were alerting the fire service department about the deadly inferno.
There were AP policemen who didn't leave the gate until 6:15 in the morning. There were 5 different ways to enter the house. The house was next to a fence where the traffic of human beings was very heavy. In the Court of Appeal, I was able to demonstrate to the judges, this is not open and shut. There are so many things that could have happened here for so many reasons that we don't know. And the prosecution doesn't know because it ran away with a simple theory. Wife who doesn't want husband to marry wife number 2. That became their only theory.
So, if it was not Joanne Chebichi Sawe who stabbed the husband before setting her own house on fire, who did it? Many things were not going well according to the family of Alexander Sawe. For instance, the permanent secretary built a house at the home of the wife instead of the parents' home, as it was tradition. Case Files takes a short break.